Women's and Men's Basketball League will make a stop in Tokyo in April 2027.
Project B isn't sitting around waiting for the WNBA drama to resolve itself, and they're definitely not waiting for Unrivaled to figure out its identity either. They're making moves right now, signing international players, laying down dates, and locking in major venues like they're building a takeover plan in real time. And the biggest move so far is loud without even trying to be loud. Tokyo, April 2027.
Each city will host a 10-day event that crowns a local champion and feeds into a season-long championship race.
That timing doesn't feel random. It feels calculated, like they circled the moment they want to plant a flag and force everyone to pay attention. Because Tokyo isn't just another stop on a schedule. Tokyo is a statement.
They're making moves. They're continuing to sign more people. Yamamoto, I'm not familiar with her, but you see, they're signing players from all over the world.
It tells the world Project B isn't trying to be a cute side league, and they aren't trying to be a temporary off-season distraction. They're aiming for something bigger, a global circuit that treats women's basketball like a real international product, not a niche add-on. They're not even hiding the blueprint.
Unrivaled Season 2 is off with renewed excitement. No, it's not. That's a lie, Yahoo Sports.
Project B is building a traveling competition model across multiple cities, and they're running men's and women's tournaments side by side. That's not just more games. That's more content, more sponsorship inventory, more storylines, and more ways to hook fans who want a full event, not just a single broadcast. Their Tokyo announcement leaned into that on purpose. They picked one of the most basketball-obsessed markets outside the U.S., and that choice sends a message to everyone watching.
I will pay attention to the one-on-one. This 3-on-3 stuff, man, it just gets boring real fast.
We're not begging America to care. We're going where the fans already show love. They even spelled out the structure like a challenge. Toyota Arena, March 26th to April 4th. 10 days of competition that crowns local champions and feeds into a season-long championship race across 7 cities.
At Unrivaled, South Florida medical professional arrested after incident at Unrivaled basketball event.
That's not a league season in the traditional sense. That's a circuit, a tour, an experience that can live in multiple markets at once. And right next to that, Unrivaled's Miami-based 3-on-3 setup suddenly starts looking smaller by comparison. Not because 3-on-3 can't work, but because scale matters.
She probably was drunk. Here it says, according to the police, she ignored multiple warnings before officers placed her under arrest for trespassing.
If Project B is building a global pipeline and Unrivaled is locked into one arena vibe, the contrast becomes impossible to ignore. The quotes from Project B leadership made it even sharper. In the announcement, Mitsui, described as the head of Project B Japan, highlighted Tokyo as a crossroads of global culture, innovation, and basketball, with fans who genuinely understand and love the game. Whether that was meant as a direct jab or not, it lands like one. Because there's a quiet insult baked into it.
Kazim allegedly offered the arresting officer $1,000, later increasing the offer to $5,000 in an attempt to have the charges dropped. She said, "Just let me go. My family has a lot of money."
The idea that the American market has been lukewarm on Unrivaled, while Japan has a proven track record of investing in women's hoops. Japan has infrastructure, a strong sports culture, and a fan base that actually shows up when it's treated like a real event. Project B is leaning into that reality hard. Meanwhile, Unrivaled has been stuck in the opposite conversation, trying to explain why audience numbers appear to be sliding and why the buzz isn't matching the hype.
Hey, yo. Oh, yeah, you was lit. She was drunk. You was drunk. You was doing too much. See, Unrivaled, y'all got to clean up the audience.
Even when people enjoy the highlights, the bigger question keeps hanging in the air. Is this product turning casual interest into consistent loyalty? Or is it just a quick novelty that fades after a few weeks? And Project B isn't only talking, they're signing players across borders, and that's a major difference in strategy. Instead of relying mainly on familiar WNBA names looking for off-season checks, they're building rosters that represent actual global basketball, homegrown talent, regional stars, and players fans already care about locally.
The ratings is down 60%. Oh, hell no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Down 60%? No, that's bad business.
Names like Mayo Yamamoto getting mentioned as a signing from Japan and Leone Fage being included in the mix shows what they're aiming for. Local attachment. When you sign homegrown talent, you create hometown heroes. You create local storylines. You give fans a personal reason to buy tickets and follow the circuit beyond one superstar. That's a different value proposition from watch famous players hoop in one city all winter. It's not automatically better basketball, but it can be better business because it spreads the emotional connection across multiple markets instead of concentrating everything in one place. And that's where the comparison gets rough for Unrivaled. Unrivaled has featured major names, players like Paige Buchers and Chelsea Gray getting attention, big moments, game winners, highlight runs. But if it's happening in front of a half-full arena and the TV numbers aren't holding, those highlights don't land the same way. One model is building roots. The other model is trying to keep momentum. One looks like it has legs. The other looks like it's sprinting on a treadmill and hoping nobody notices. Unrivaled's 3-on-3 format was supposed to be their cheat code. Fast pace, high scoring, easy to follow, non-stop action. And for a moment it worked. People tuned in because it felt fresh. But here's what they're learning the hard way. Novelty wears off. Once you've seen a few games, the rhythm can start feeling repetitive if the product doesn't evolve. There's less space for deep defensive schemes, less time for coaching adjustments to matter, less build-up to rivalry tension. It can start looking like talented players trading buckets in a compressed area, and that's fun, until it isn't. A lot of fans don't mind that style for short bursts. It's great for highlights, clips, and social media. But appointment viewing is a different beast. Appointment viewing means people plan their night around your game, not scroll past it while doing something else. And the ratings chatter is where the pressure gets real. If reports claiming a major drop are even close to accurate, networks like TNT will notice immediately. Media companies don't run on vibes. They run on numbers, ad commitments, and performance clauses. Now add all of that tension, and then drop a headline about an arrest at the venue, and you've got a problem that goes beyond basketball. According to a police report cited in public coverage, a woman identified as Marissa Mina Kazem, described as a physician assistant from Oakland Park, was taken into custody on a Monday night at Unrivaled Stadium on the 7000 block of Northwest 75th Street after allegedly refusing to leave the property after multiple warnings. Security reportedly called it in. Officers arrived, and the report alleges she still refused to leave. That results in a trespassing allegation, and then the story gets even messier. The report further alleges that during transport to Turner Guilford Night Correctional Center, she offered an arresting officer $1,000 to drop the charges. That allegation turns into something much more serious on paper because offering money to influence law enforcement is treated as a separate charge in many jurisdictions. And whether people think it's funny, sad, or outrageous, the key problem for Unrivaled is simple. You don't want this kind of headline attached to your brand when you're already fighting for credibility. To be fair, you can argue this incident isn't Unrivaled's fault, and that argument has weight. A league doesn't control every single decision a spectator makes. If staff warned someone to leave and escalated properly to venue security and police, then the operation likely followed standard procedure. But perception matters in sports business, and perception can be brutal. When you're trying to sell a premium product, exclusive feel, celebrity courtside shots, high-end presentation, you cannot afford stories that make the venue feel chaotic. It doesn't matter if it's technically unrelated to the league's choices. The audience lumps it together, and that's what makes the media spin so awkward. Coverage framing like Season 2 is off with renewed excitement can read like corporate PR when the public conversation is clearly anxious. If people are talking about declining viewership, nervous broadcast partners, and messy headlines, you can't just slap the phrase "here to stay" on top and expect it to stick. Yes, there have been strong basketball moments. Paige Buchers can hoop, and when she shows out, it's real. Chelsea Gray hitting a big shot is a real moment too. Those highlights matter, but highlights don't save a league by themselves. A league survives on consistent attention, people showing up, people watching, sponsors believing it's worth the money, and networks believing the content delivers. If the arena isn't full and the TV audience is sliding, then even great moments can feel like they're echoing in an empty room. That's the uncomfortable business reality. TNT didn't sign up to broadcast a product that can't hold its audience. A big partner expects stability or growth, not a trend line that's heading the wrong direction. And networks protect themselves with contract language, viewership thresholds, performance triggers, renegotiation clauses. Those tools exist specifically because broadcasters don't want to be stuck paying premium rates for content that doesn't deliver. If a league isn't meeting promised metrics, the relationship turns tense fast. Unrivaled's founders like Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier took a big swing with this concept. They sold it to investors, sold it to players, and sold it to media partners as the next evolution of women's basketball content. If the market is responding with shrinking numbers, that's not a small setback. That's the market giving feedback in the loudest way possible. Project B is watching all of this like a chess player watching an opponent rush moves. They're seeing 3-on-3 struggle to hold broad attention. They're seeing a single city strategy limit growth potential. They're watching a competitor take hits, and they're positioning themselves as the alternative. That's smart business. You don't launch into a vacuum. You launch into a space where demand exists, but is underserved. Project B looked at the landscape and basically said, we'll go global, we'll go multi-city, we'll go men's and women's together, and we'll build local fan bases instead of hoping one US market carries the whole brand.
So what happens next is where things get serious for Unrivaled, because they don't have the luxury of slow adjustments. If they're going to compete with what's coming, they need decisions that actually change the trajectory.
First issue, format. 3-on-3 isn't consistently working as appointment television the way they hoped. It can be exciting, but it needs layers, stakes, variety, strategic wrinkles, and storylines that build week to week. Their planned one-on-one tournament concept could generate drama because isolation matchups are naturally tense, and fans love seeing pure skill tests. But if that becomes a centerpiece, it also signals the core product needs extra help. A side feature can boost interest, but it can't fix a product-market fit problem long-term if the main show isn't holding attention. Second issue, audience identity. Who is Unrivaled really for? WNBA diehards already have the WNBA. Casual fans might only tune in for major events like the Olympics when 3-on-3 feels special, and international fans may prefer leagues in their own markets, especially if Project B is actively courting them with local stars and local tournaments. If Unrivaled sits in the middle, too niche for mainstream, too US-centered for global, it risks ending up with a small core audience that isn't big enough to sustain the business model at scale. A loyal base is great, but great doesn't always equal profitable. Third issue, competition. Project B isn't just competing with Unrivaled. They're competing with the WNBA offseason ecosystem itself. For years, WNBA players had limited options. Go overseas for strong paychecks, deal with travel, culture changes, and time away from home. Unrivaled's pitch was simple. Stay in the US, play in Miami, make serious money in a short season. Now Project B is offering a different temptation: global exposure, multi-city experiences, and cross-promotional energy from men's and women's tournaments running together. If you're a player choosing where to spend your off-season, that can be incredibly appealing, especially if it comes with strong compensation and bigger audiences in multiple markets. Fourth issue, TNT media partnerships are built on trust, and trust is built on numbers. If the numbers disappoint, trust cracks. And once a major network starts doubting a property, it becomes hard to recover because the network has its own obligations: ad clients, scheduling plans, and reputational risk. If TNT stays, Unrivaled has oxygen. If TNT walks, the situation gets dangerous fast, because other networks won't rush to pick up a property that couldn't hold up under a major partner's spotlight. That's not impossible to overcome, but it's a steep hill, and it gets steeper every month. Fifth issue, event operations and brand vibe. That arrest story is embarrassing, but it's also manageable if the venue tightens policies and staff training. Strong venue management can reduce incidents and keep the atmosphere controlled. But the bigger danger is what the incident symbolizes. Unrivaled wants to feel premium, high-end, polished. Headlines about trespassing allegations and bribery allegations create a messy image, whether fair or not. In sports business, image becomes reality quickly because fans, sponsors, and networks don't have time to separate every detail. Sixth issue, geography. Project B announced Tokyo. Unrivaled is still basically Miami. A one-city strategy can feel intense at first, but over time it can feel monotonous. Same court, same crowd energy, same visuals, same everything. You can't build a global brand while staying stuck in one arena forever. You can't create international storylines without actually showing up internationally. Concentration can create focus, but it can also create repetition, and repetition kills urgency. Seventh issue, compensation and scale. Unrivaled pays well for a short run, and that's real value. But Project B's ecosystem can potentially unlock bigger revenue streams. Men's and women's events mean broader sponsorship reach, more ticket inventory across cities, and more media rights opportunities. If Project B can outscale Unrivaled financially, players will compare offers and math matters. Players are professionals. They'll go where the opportunity is strongest, especially if the platform is growing and the exposure is global. Eighth issue, leadership and execution. Being an elite player doesn't automatically mean being an elite league operator. Running a league requires specialized experience, media rights, production, marketing, sponsorship sales, venue logistics, staffing, legal structures, and long-term strategic planning. Unrivaled has respected founders, but the question is whether the operational bench is deep enough. Project B appears backed by people building a broader sports property, and that experience gap can show up in the small details that decide whether a league feels serious or shaky. Ninth issue, content strategy. Unrivaled's main product is the games, and while they do push highlights and moments, they need more ecosystem content that creates attachment beyond the scoreboard. Documentaries, player profiles, behind the scenes, team identity, city-to-city rivalries, those layers help convert casual viewers into loyal fans. Project B is building around that kind of ecosystem by design. Local champions, city pride, season-long races, and cross-gender tournament energy. That structure naturally produces stories. Unrivaled has to work harder to create story gravity when every game looks visually similar. 10th issue, timing. Unrivaled launched while women's basketball hype was peaking off a major wave of attention. But hype doesn't automatically convert into off-season loyalty. Fans who arrived because of a superstar moment aren't guaranteed to stick around for a new format in a new league. Unrivaled needed to lock in new habits quickly, turn checking it out into must-watch. If that conversion didn't happen, they're now facing a tougher market where the novelty has cooled and competition is smarter. Project B may actually benefit from launching into a more mature moment, where the appetite is proven, but the audience expects higher quality execution. So when you zoom out, the situation looks like this. Project B is building something that appears scalable and international, and they're doing it with confidence. Unrivaled is fighting multiple battles at once. Format stickiness, audience clarity, media pressure, brand perception, and rising competition. And they need real strategic shifts, not just hope. Because hope isn't a plan. Hope doesn't fix ratings. Hope doesn't calm nervous partners. Hope doesn't keep players from taking bigger opportunities elsewhere. Unrivaled can absolutely survive if they evolve fast. Broaden the experience, deepen the strategy layer, expand the geography, strengthen the business leadership, and rebuild trust with media partners through consistent performance. But if they don't evolve, they risk becoming a footnote, an ambitious experiment with big names and bright moments that couldn't lock in product-market fit before a larger, better-positioned competitor took the oxygen. And that would be a brutal outcome, not because the idea was bad, but because the market is moving quickly and the margin for error is thin. Right now, Project B is acting like they smell blood in the water, and they're sprinting toward the opening. Unrivaled can either adjust and fight for space, or keep repeating the same approach and watch the marketplace decide for them.